Hey there, welcome back. It's noontime on a Tuesday. We do apologize that we took a little time off of the weekend, for the holidays, but we're back stronger, faster. We rebuilt them. The $1 million show is back. No, I'm kidding. Welcome to the Madman Cafe, brunch with the Madman. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing this programming. Thank you for being there. There's a lot to discuss. But first, before we get started, what's on the board today? What coffee do we have? Let's go to the board. It's the French Roast Dark. Yes, we went to the dark side today, as we're going into one of our stories today. It's the French Roast. Very good. It's by Joffrey's Coffee. Delicious. Let me just take a sip here. Oh, delicious, delicious. I understand, I don't get paid by Joffrey, but if you want a good coffee, go check them out. I recommend buy the whole bean and grind it yourself. You'll get a great taste of coffee every time. Well, let's get started here. Sometimes, in an episode you have some good news, sometimes you have some bad news, and it happens. And people don't like bad news, but you got to talk about it every once in a while. You got to get it out, get it off your chest. Whatever the issues are, it's good to talk about things that that sometimes makes us sad in the world. One thing that that gives me joy is that when I get a good story, one of my favorite things is the villain, or the super villain, or the evil genius, and stuff like that. And I just love that. I always buy books concerning those characters. I have an omnibus of the greatest villains in comic book history. It's some good stuff on there. And it has all the details, and and I love stuff. Dark Side, and Apocalypse, and Galactus, and going over into television. You got Scorpius. Big sort of villain, you could say, but I always consider him a villain on there. And of course, one of my big favorites is the Dark Sith Lord himself, Lord Vader, Darth Vader itself. And this past week, the man behind the mask, that's right, David Prowse, has passed on at age 85. I mean, it's a sad thing. A lot of people loved the Darth Vader character. Most people didn't realize, they hear James Earl Jones, but actually James Earl Jones wasn't in the costume. It was David Prowse. David Prowse was a gentleman who was a weightlifter. Most people don't realize, there's a lot of stuff that I learned just recently about him. He was a weightlifter, and back younger, there was a safety program that they put into place. Something similar to what we had here in the States about crossing the streets, look both ways. And he was sort of a superhero himself. He was a Green Cross Code man, and he taught kids, safety when walking on the streets. And that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool, to have something like that. But not only that, because he kept himself healthy. Like I said, he was a bodybuilder and all that. But other actors and actresses, they've come to tell their stories on there, and they've worked with him. One big star is John Barrowman, Captain Jack himself. He remembers when David Prowse helped him get into shape for a stage role in the musical Matador. And he said, he got him into shape on that. And most people said, like, well, David Prowse, didn't really know that. And he did a lot of things. There were a lot of movie roles that he played, and stuff that most people didn't realize what he, that was it was him. This is a man who basically was in the background. He would say he was in the background or behind the mask. You could say that this was his claim to fame, that basically the most famous hidden gentleman in movie history, because he was forefront, but most people didn't realize who he was in certain roles. Another one, basically, if you ever saw the 67 version of the spoof version of Casino Royale. If you ever seen that with David Niven, fantastic movie. Not the current movie James Bond film. This is a comedy version, all-star cast, fantastic, really funny. He played the role of Frankenstein. Yeah, that's right. There was a Frankenstein in a James Bond flick. Well, like I said, it's a spoof. It's a scene where basically he walks in, knocks the door down, and David Niven is allowed to escape at that point. But believe it or not, he was asked to play it again in two other of the Hammer horror films, the iconic horror film series, the 1970 Horror Frankenstein and 1974 Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. And he's done a lot of other stuff. I mean, he was also in The Saint, Space 1999. And believe it or not, he even had a Doctor Who episode where he played the Minotaur in the 72 John Pertwee episodes, The Time Monster. And he's always been behind the scenes. He's always been in Hollywood circles. He also prepared Christopher Reeve for Superman. Christopher Reeve said he was always a taskmaster, getting him prepared on there. And he also, another role, and you don't have to look too carefully for it, he also was in the 71 film Clockwork Orange, where he played the bodyguard, and that's where Lucas found him and wanted him for one of the two roles. He either wanted him for Vader or Chewbacca, and Prowse decided on Vader, and he invited him to audition for those roles, and I guess the rest is history on there. But it's kind of a sad day when you see a man who's done so much in his career, and most people pretty much only know him for Darth Vader. And some people didn't even know he was Vader on there. I mean, most of the time you saw it on the credits and you say, he was Darth Vader? I thought it was James Earl Jones. No, there is video footage, and I guess what it was, you hear the original audio.
Know what you're talking about. I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic...
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
There's footage out there. You can look for it carefully, of him saying the lines on there, and Lucas was like, well, that's okay, but that's not what I'm looking for. And I guess this is where James Earl Jones steps in. And it's not uncommon where characters on the movies, that the voice gets swapped out by somebody else. Sometimes the voice doesn't work. Believe it or not, Arnold Schwarzenegger, back in Hercules New York, Goes to New York, his voice was swapped out. If you look at the dub, it's a funny dub, because basically back then, strong accent as Arnold has, the director didn't like it, didn't really like it. So basically they switched his voice with someone more English speaking without a major accent, and that was added in there. But it was nothing against the acting of David Prowse. He's done, like I said, he's done a lot of good stuff in the movies. And for his passing, it's a sad day, and we salute you, David Prowse. R.I.P. Rest in peace. You're sitting up there with Princess Leia and R2 and Chewbacca. I mean, there's an iconic picture out now, and you see this picture out where they're haloed, some of the cast of Star Wars. So we'll touch off on that. But staying in that genre that we're talking about, the company itself, from Star Wars, we switch into a little bit of Disney. And, Disney itself has been having a lot of issues lately. And basically, we move on to the next story that we want to discuss today a little bit, is basically there was a series years ago from the Spider-Man universe, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and it was a really good series. I enjoyed it. You had Spider-Man, you had Iceman, and you also had Starfire. it was a trio that they were together. They were fighting the villains and stuff like that. And there's an episode. Actually, I believe it's the second episode in this second or third episode in the series called Sunfire, which basically a Asian character comes in, Zhenu, another mutant, and basically there's like there's a love interest in a whole situation. But now what has happened, because of the way it was portrayed in the series, Disney decides they want to put a apology disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. Why? I mean, because they say, well, because basically, listen. Okay, you didn't use a Japanese actor. You used an Asian actor. Actually, believe it or not, one of the voice actors was the blind monk from the Kung Fu TV series with David Carradine. I mean, how can you be upset about that? I mean, I can understand if you use Chinese versus Japanese. They're voice actors. You shouldn't be upset about that, number one, and you should be, the negativity toward this. I mean, everybody's calling it negativity. It's a story. It's a story. Good versus evil, and it's always a situation where they're basically, well, we don't like, these Twitter Puritans, and this is what I'm calling them, Twitter Puritans. These Twitter Puritans or Reddit Puritans, they sit there all day looking for something to piss them the hell off, and they always find something new every day, and it's so funny that they find something on this. This is a TV series that was years ago, many years ago. I mean, they'll go back 400 years and complain about things 400 years ago, and don't realize things have changed today. The way things are going, but the way things are being written, I mean, a lot of it's junk, and you could see when they complain about something and they want it to be changed the way they want it, it turns out to be crap because they don't know what they're talking about. Some of them are not even fans of the show. They're not even fans. They're not even part of the fandom. They just sit there and point their finger out, just like the guy on Seinfeld, where he was pointing his finger at Jerry Seinfeld throughout that whole episode. He was a naughty man, And stuff like this has got to stop. You heard Gone with the Wind has gotten this, Alien, The Goonies. How, and I keep saying this, why would you put one on the Goonies? A fun movie like that. I bet, they're going to do it to Christmas Story. That's going to happen soon. The Home Alone, many other iconic movies, Back to the Future. I can go down a list of a bunch of movies. I mean, most of the Mel Brooks, I'm surprised most of the Mel Brooks movies haven't been slapped with these yet. And that's why I've been telling you lately, buy physical media, because scenes are being removed, edited, or disclaimers put on there. And buy it used if you can, buy it used totally, because you want to maintain the original look of it. That's why I still have my original Star Wars. I have my VHSs. I still have it to this day. They're in great condition on there. If I ever want to watch them again. But staying on with this, I mean, the insanity that Disney, considering that Disney has they've been up in the subscribership, but they've not been doing well. We know that Black Widow, there's a possibility coming to Disney Plus. This is a possibility on that. WandaVision's been moved over. A lot of other stuff has been shifted around. But also, you have the other situation is Disneyland California has been shut down. It has been still shut down to this day since the beginning of the pandemic. And, the company's been begging the state for them to reopen again. I mean, Walt Disney World Florida has been doing okay. But yet, the draconian measures that they've done in California right now, and in fact, they want to shutter 10 million people down in California right now. Meanwhile, you have behind the door, you're having a major exodus of people leaving because of all the draconian rules and regulations. There's already a major signature battle going on right now to get the governor impeached right now, get him removed from there because of all the situations. And then and this is not an excuse for Disney, but you start to hear this, and it's a shame. Disney to lay off 4,000 additional employees as COVID-19 wreaks havoc on the theme parks. I understand. You have money situations, and reading into it, it's like Disney has announced the operation attendance issues come to theme parks by COVID-19 have resulted in an additional round of layoffs, bringing the total to over 32,000 employees. I mean, I don't know if that includes the employees from overseas, all the Epcot employees that work in like France and Britain and Japan, and a lot of the musicians, the people like the drum players in Japan. There's also a group that played in the musical group that plays in the Grand Floridian. They all been laid off or let go at this point. And it's a shame because that's part. You're paying a high price to get into a Disney park these days, and you look to the perspective is that technically I'm only getting about 40-50% of the ticket price. Why hasn't the prices come down? You got to ask yourself that one thing. I mean, you're talking about a company that's already, they're saying that they've suffered approximately $3.5 billion. I'm hearing closer more to $5 to $6 billion. That could be just only on the operating parks, but overall in the company, they lost a lot of revenue. I mean, part of it is because of COVID-19, yes, this situation. But there are other issues, which is coming up next in the lineup that's happened, is you have smaller parts like, the Star Wars universe and the Marvel universe. They've also, having their issues, the online, the movie theaters and shutters and stuff like that. And that's causing a rupture in the company itself. I mean, right now, technically, with what's going on, I've said this before. Disney needs new leadership, new strong leadership, and the board of directors over at Disney need to stand up and start to change things. Yeah, because basically you're shuttering the employees out, but meanwhile the executives are taking their money back, which they took. It was a good thing that they shuttered their payroll for themselves for a bit, but now they're bringing it back up, and from what I hear, some raises are coming on there, and that's ridiculous. Whether that's true or not, it's to the point where you shouldn't be giving yourself any money. You should be taking yourself down. If the employees are taking the hit, you should take a hit as well. However, as the pandemic continues to affect aspects of life across the world, and SEC filing published on the eve of Thanksgiving nonchalantly revealed an additional 4,000 employees would face unemployment in the upcoming year. Due to the current climate, including COVID-19, as you can see, and changing environment in which we are operating, the company has generated efficiencies in its staffing, including limited hiring to critical roles and furloughs and reductions in force, wrote Disney in a filing. As part of these actions, the employment of approximately 32,000 employees, primarily at the parks, experiences, and products, will terminate first half of fiscal 2021. According to the SEC filing, the company employs approximately 203,000 people as of October 3rd, 2020, with approximately 155,000 of their employees working in the parks, experiences, and product segments. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. To lose a good chunk of your people, 32,000 people. You know what 32,000 people is out of work, out of a company? How much more that puts a strain on other workers. I mean, you're slowly starting to get your hours back almost into shape, but still, you don't have the experience, the amount of people there. I mean, we're hearing rides break down on a constant daily basis. You're hearing everything from Splash Mountain, to Pirates of the Caribbean, to Jungle Cruise. You're hearing so much that's going on. I mean, what I used to call the Webway People Mover, or the TTA, is still down. They're still trying to repair it. The Tron cycles, who knows when they'll get that up. I know that there was supposed to be, is it Ratatouille? I think something was supposed to be opening at Epcot, one of the rides on there, and it still hasn't opened yet. It's ready to go, but I think they're afraid to flip the switch on it because, especially when you've had situations where Rise of the Resistance has had a lot of issues in the ride. Oh, that's good coffee. But switching all away from that and staying within the Disney, and you've seen the issues that are going on, and we've talked about the other parts, the Star Wars part of it. You have the situation which this past week, The Mandalorian had Ahsoka Tano, Rosario Dawson show up, and a lot of people liked it, and those in the Twitter Puritans hated it. And they wish nothing but to fire this woman because basically they're calling her transphobic, not realizing that the person that was originating a lot of the issues to this has recanted most of the lawsuit. There was 28 counts, and now it's down to 2, and it has nothing to do with racism or anything of that nature. So we'll have to see how that comes about as far as that. But when you have people yelling and screaming, and Disney is like, oh, what do I do? And so far they've done okay as far as The Mandalorian. Gina Carano, she's still doing Twitter. She's still doing what she's doing. And luckily, Pedro Pascal is defending her online. Luckily, especially since he insulted a bunch of people on there, I guess he's realizing it. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. And he's seeing what can happen as far as something of that nature. Because that's the one thing, is when the Twitter Puritans and the Reddit Puritans get at you, they just really slam that. And there's someone else that's getting the Twitter Puritan job right now. And, I don't have all the issues on them. We'll discuss that in the second half today. But there is an actor in trouble again, and it's starting to wreak similarities to another case. But in this case, with another division of Disney, Marvel Comics, we've discussed the comic book end, whereas Marvel Comics, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's on its way out. DC is almost there. Ethan Van Sciver says probably we got till June for DC for the lifespan of DC Comics. Then it's going to go full digital. As far as that, and mostly who's left at DC is basically the Gopher Coffees and the interns that are running the place right now, other than the top execs at the moment. There's not so many top execs left. Everyone's either bailed out or have been let go. But on the other end of the water, Marvel Comics, they're starting to see the situation of their downfall coming as well. And recently we've heard a ton of their comics have been canceled. It might be stuff that you like. I'm hearing the Mobius comic that was supposed to come out has been canceled. Also, there was supposed to be a comic book adaptation of Rise of the Skywalker. That has also been canceled as well. There were early rumors of it, but now it's pretty much about confirmed on there. You're seeing stuff as like Ironheart 1 and 2, Amazing Spider-Man Annual 21, the Daily Bugle 1, 3, 4, and 5, Black Cat 13, Doctor Strange 7, Ghost Rider 8, 9, also 6, 7, 8 of Mobius, Dark Agnes 3, 4, 5, Scream of the Carnage 6, 7, 8, Silver Surfer, Black Director's Cut 1, 2, Valkyrie Jane Foster 11, 12, X-Men Dawn of X Saga 1. It is, these are acts before they even came out. This is just literally, you're seeing the cancellation straight across wrong. And this is what's happening. You know, you have the Twitter Puritans, the SJWs, the Reddit Puritans. They've all gotten themselves into the industry, and they just basically trying to write these stories that are completely insane, that nobody wants to read. They say, oh, no, this has got to be because of the right-leaning, far-right, not Razzies and white supremacy. No, it is not. There are people on both sides saying, like, the stories have been ridiculous. They've been totally, I mean, you already see, was it the New Warriors? That comic hasn't come out. We haven't seen it. Kibblesmith, as everybody calls him, Kibblesmith. You know, he writes, you know, some rotten crappy characters that nobody wants. You know, and they said, well, we have to have diversity. We have to be diverse. The comic book industry has been diverse for many years. For many, many years. They said, well, there's not enough women, not enough minorities. There has been. Well, we have to show about racism. We've always shown them. They've talked about racism. They've talked about drug abuse. Anything that you bring up, these Twitter Puritans bring up, has been done. Do you know why they yell it out, scream it out? Because they've never truly read these comics. They never know the history of the people involved, the people who have written a lot of these comics. That's why they can't realize why people like Ethan Van Sciver and Sweetcast and Alterna Comics and many other people have been writing some great comics lately. Some great comics. And they can't understand why it's selling so much. Why so much they're making so much money in this. Because they're writing good stories. The stories that we want to see. We're tired of seeing Batgirl at a sort of BLM / Antifa rally. I mean, who approved that? Who really approved that? See, these are the things that you hear in these universes between the New Warriors, what's going on in the Batman universe, you know, all these stuff that's in the comics. That's, you know, the Miss Marvel, Captain. I mean, you have the video game in the Marvel universe that has just literally lost over $50 million. $50 million, I think, is what the current number is, and it's growing. I mean, they're not going to recoup the money. I think they've made total of $3 million. They're not going to recoup anything back on this game, because people don't like the storyline. They don't like the, you know, it was poorly done. And this is coming from Crystal Dynamics, which made some great games in the past. See, a lot of these companies have lost their way due to politics. They allowed the Twitter Puritans, the Reddit Puritans to freaking infect their companies, and that realizes that the bosses are the boss, and these people, if they're coming to work for you, they have to listen to the boss. You know, they're like, no, we got to get rid of this, like a Joe Rogan. We don't want this because he knows this person or interviewed this person and stuff like that. See, that's the problem. You're interjecting politics on that. I remember a time when I worked for companies that they never want you to talk to politics on the floor. They say, keep your politics at home. Keep your politics at lunch. Don't bring them into here. They don't like that because they're running a business. They're running their own business. And that's what it is. It's their business. It's not the Twitter Puritans' business. It's none of their business to on there. If you disagree with them, they're not telling you to buy them. You're the percentage. You, the Twitter Puritans, the Reddit Puritans, are the percentage that they don't expect you to buy. They know you're not going to buy their product. So go ahead and complain you want. Complain and put your fingers in your ears and scream as loud as you want. These companies cannot twist and bend to there because basically they're going to lose money. And eventually that's what's going to end up. They're going to realize when they're just literally, you know, burnt to the ground. What happened? I said you allowed a small group of people to dictate your policies of your company. And it's a shame because basically, you have some great comics out there for years, and now they're just being wasted away, shut down, and probably the only thing that's going to be left. And you want to hear the funny part? You want to hear the funny part of this whole thing? Besides that, manga is outselling the graphic novels in the comic book industry. They're outselling number-wise and stuff like that. The anime movies are doing better than some of the main feature movies these days. Is that in the comic book industry, what is selling great now are back issues. And I'm not talking back issues within the last 10 years. We're talking back issues all the way back to the 80s and 90s. There are people making money now off of this. The comic book stores that have survived this crisis, this apocalypse of Puritans, the ones that have survived, stuff like, people like Forbidden Planet, Midtown, Jim Haley's, they're living off the back issues. Because there are people out there that, and you are some of my viewers, because I do pay attention to the age group that are watching these shows now, both here and abroad, are between 18 to about 35. Some of you are just getting into comics for the first time. And some of you are realizing there's some great stories back then. The original Secret Wars, the first battle between Galactus and the Fantastic Four, basically the first appearance of Wolverine. There's so many great stories down the line. Batman versus the Wraith. Did you know that Batman had an opposite to him, and it was called the Wraith? I mean, it has been brought up a couple of times and not done well, but the original comic itself, where you had a man similar to Bruce Wayne, but he was raised poor, so he was like the opposite. His father was a thief. His parents were killed by a cop, and it was Commissioner Gordon when he was a beat cop, when he was just in his blues at the beginning of his career. He ended up shooting this man, and years later, he dons a similar cloak to the Batman, but he used guns and stuff like that to basically get revenge, and was a criminal. People don't realize that story was in, and it's a very good story. They tried to recreate it and didn't do well recently. And it didn't work in a couple of issues when they tried to reboot the series on there. I mean, there've been a lot of great Marvel. Like I said, I dipped back to Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars. I loved it, and that's what's selling now. That's what's selling. I heard this. I heard it also from Gary from Neurotic. He said he's hearing the same thing too. He's hearing the same exact thing. That back issues right now are king. People don't want these new comics because they're just crap. The stories are crap. The quality. Oh my God, the quality of the paperwork is junk now these days. It's total junk. So we're going to take a moment to calm down a bit. And we have one more section that we're going to discuss. When we come back, we're going to discuss one of the best science fiction shows is going to be canceled after 2 more seasons. And we're going to discuss that when we come back. We're going to discuss some of the issues. And the cancellation may not be a bad thing in a way, and we'll discuss why. And when we come back, we'll go over a couple of other things that are going on with the shows and what's coming forward. So we'll be right back right after this little bit with teespring.com. So I'm going to go get a refill, and here we go. With the holidays well underway, you might be looking for that special gift. Check out our merch store at teespring.com, where we have our new winter gear out. From the Madman Cafe to Madman with the Show. Shirts, hoodies, mugs, and even pillows. Starting on Black Friday till December 1st, get an additional 20% off by using the promo code BLACKCAFE. That's teespring.com, shop Q to cast. All right, that's right. You got until December 1st. If you've seen this after December 1st, it's already over, but we'll still have some more sales going on. That's right, additional 20% off till December 1st with the promo code Black Cafe. Thank you for those who have shopped our store. Thank you very much. There's still plenty of gear there. There's still plenty of time, plenty of gear. You can order it. In fact, I think that if you order a certain amount, you get free shipping. I think there is. I think it's $100 if that's still running. So, thank you for the coffee, honey. Thank you. She just filled me up during the break. French roast dark. Oof. Like I said, it's a very good coffee. Joffrey coffee, very, very good. So, we've discussed how very good, there's some great science fiction still out there. We've seen a lot of cancellations of the junk, and some of the cancellations of good stuff. Well, fortunately, another series is getting a cancellation again, and in a way, it may get a good send-off. It might get a good send-off. Amazon has announced that The Expanse has been greenlighted towards season 6. Season 5 is coming out literally in days from the point of view of when this video was uploaded. And basically season 6 will be its last. They've canceled it. It was basically the simultaneous renewal and cancellation was revealed a little under 3 weeks before the 5th season, December 16th premiere date. Deadline reported that the final season is slated to begin production January 20th, which is not that far away, with target start dates subject to change amid the fluid pandemic conditions. Based on the James S.A. Corey novel series of the same name, originally debuted on the Sci-Fi Channel, Sci-Fi's biggest mistake they've ever made by canceling the show back then. The Expanse was eventually canceled by 2018 by the network television channel after only 3 seasons, but thanks to a vocal and widespread fan campaign, was revived by Amazon as an exclusive original just a year later. From that moment, we've committed to bringing this show to life up to its final season. We've worked tirelessly to honor the visions of the writers, explained executive producers Andre Crotser and Broderick Johnson, who also serves as the co-CEOs and co-founders of the Alcon television group who produced The Expanse. We have prided ourselves to having one of the most diverse casts in television history, and that's one thing good about this. They're the ones that can tote. We have a very diverse cast because they don't interject. Now, I can't speak for season 5 if anything has changed to the situation, but one thing about The Expanse is it is very diverse. You can't scream at this series. It is so well done from all aspects. From the science fiction part of it, to the acting, to the characters, how it's written, the storylines. I mean, some people have some favorites part of it, and some sections there aren't, because even in the novels, one of the novels, I think it was book 4, didn't do well. It was not that great of a book. But yet, they were able to expand it further in the TV series and make it and improve on it. A special thanks to Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank, the writers of both books and series, and to Naren Shankar, the series showrunner and executive producer. It continues to be an honor and privilege to work with them as a team. We would like to thank Amazon for the continued support to help us tell this story in its fullest and to bring The Expanse global to the audience itself. In anticipation of season 6, aforementioned showrunner Naren Shankar noted that the dedication and artistry of everyone who helps bring The Expanse to the screen is incredible. Our fans are awesome, and we cannot wait to get rolling into season 6, he added. The Expanse fifth season is set with Stimulus dropping of its first 3 episodes on December 16th, which subsequently will air through February 3rd, which is great. They're going to do like The Boys. First 3 episodes, then episode to episode, week to week. Now, okay, when you look at the series itself in the novelizations of the TV series, from novel to TV series, as far as titles. When you look at what is coming forward this season, I mean, we're looking at book 5, which is Nemesis Games. I mean, we had last year was Travolta Burn, which is not the greatest book in the series, but I think the series showrunners did a good job of setting the stage for that story itself. So now this season we're getting Nemesis Games, and if we look at it to the perspective, Babylon Ashes would be the finale for it. Now a lot of people saying, "Oh man, it was just getting good." I guess sorry. Yeah, I mean, they say, but wait, they have a 9th book coming, and there's still another 2 books that they haven't done yet. I mean, how could they cancel it on that? It's a bad thing. It's a bad cancellation, and it's a great science fiction. But the way that this is written, technically Babylon Ashes would be a good ending to this story. They may go into a little bit of precipitous rising. But see, the difference is Babylon Ashes, book 6 to book 7, there is a 30-year jump to book 7. That's right, folks. If you haven't realized yet, if you haven't picked up the book yet, the books are still available. You can go out and get them. Book 6 technically is an ending to a part of the story. And a new part of the story picks up 30 years later. Even though it is part of the Expanse universe of what's going on. We started book 1 where it's Leviathan Wakes. Book 9 is Leviathan Falls. So we still have book 7, 8, and 9. Book 9 hasn't been released yet. That is coming very soon. Hopefully they'll finish that on time. And I think there is talk of a book 10, supposedly. So we can anticipate that they'll end with book 6, maybe twisting into book 7 just a tad. Now, here's the thing. From this perspective, I could be wrong. And I've been wrong before. And I've been right before. This could give anybody else, Netflix, HBO, to get this series and continue that story 7, 8, 9, and if they decide to do a book 10. And also there's some stories in between too. There are a couple of books that's in there's Drive, The Churn, The Butcher of Anderson Station. There's a lot of books in between. Some of it has been put into the series, some have not. But this gives a chance for either Amazon might decide to rehash this series, but under a new name because basically we're ending at book 6. Because I believe we would have to change most. It would be new cast members because like I said, it's a 30-year jump. Now I haven't picked up the books or anything of that nature to see if there are any characters previously, but by that, depending on how old they are, when they reach that level, they would be very old. So basically, it would have to be introduce new characters, new situations, and looking like where book 9 says Leviathan Falls, we're going to have to see how this ends up if that's the final book, and that's slated for 2021 release. We haven't gotten an actual date. Hopefully it'll be spring toward summer. So that would be interesting if that would be done. I mean, could they give it another name? The Expanse, the Expanded Universe, or something? Who knows what they can do with this? But it would be very interesting if they do. If someone out there decides to say, "Hey, let's do 7, 8, 9," and just call it under a new name, and go with it. because like I said, it's still the story of the Expanse. So we'll have to find out on that when they decide, if they decide to do it. But me, I'll get the books. I'll read those last novels. In fact, I'll get the whole set. I'm looking for the whole set at a good price. Because it is, I'll tell you, it is a great series. I mean, if you haven't picked this book up, if you haven't seen this series yet, watch it. It is really, you can watch it on Amazon Prime, or you can go out and get the DVDs, go on eBay, get the DVDs. You know, it should be still available on the DVDs on there, on some of them, because when Sci-Fi put them out. Get them used. So, just go out and get them. And, it's a shame. And I cry. I weep for this. Even though it may end good. It's not like how Game of Thrones. I mean, if it ends up like Game of Thrones, oh my God, I will scream. I mean, we're still waiting for Winds of Winter. At least we're about 3 books. We'll be 3 books ahead. When this series comes to end on Amazon. And they've had their issues. I mean, one thing that I've noticed recently, if you're familiar with the show, you know who Kaz Anvar is. He plays a really cool part on there. He's the pilot on the TV series. And unfortunately, he won't be back for season 6. Yeah, he won't be back for season 6. And the reason is, recently there's been some accusations of sexual misconduct during the summer on believe it or not, on Reddit and on Twitter, saying that basically he's been accused by underage girls, under 18, at conventions, not Expanse conventions, but at other conventions that he's been at. And an investigation has been launched. And from what I understand, from what I'm reading, it hasn't been completed. But they've already made a decision to let him go. And you know what harks the sign of me? I don't know. This could be true. This could be false. I cannot say, because no one has gone to the police on this, from what I understand. What does that sound like to you? Yeah, that really sounds like when you have subreddits that have tweets and reactions of people, of accusers, or statements from the accusers, and people saying, well, I heard someone say this, 2 friends of mine. What does that hark of? Harks of the same as the Vic Mignogna case. Now, I could be wrong, or I could be right. I mean, to the situation. It's when you look at what is up in there as far as the accusations, it just sounds similar. It just sounds similar to me. I mean, some of the wording is a little different, but the allegation is on there. I mean, I don't condone any, whether it's male or female, whatever, any sexual assault or harassment of any nature for anyone, no matter who you are. And if you are guilty of it, you know you deserve to burn in hell for that. But what we've seen recently, Vic Mignogna, Johnny Depp, many others, we've seen people lie as well. We know from the Twitter Puritans and the Reddit Puritans that people lie because they may not like it. The attacks on Gina Carano, the attacks on Rosario Dawson right now that's going on. And, people like saying, well, they're Razzies and white supremacists and this and that. And, people, what you learn throughout the years, and it's a shame that, that you have to see this on Twitter. Because Twitter started out as a good thing, and then it just got, completely infected all the way up to the head of Twitter. That you have situations like this where basically one group of people are chastised and stuff like that, and another group of people are allowed to do it. But when you try to dispute it, you're cut off. You may have the evidence, but they don't want to hear the evidence. They don't want to see the evidence. Word of mouth is the evidence. I mean, this is why I'm calling them Puritans, because basically back in the day, you had this situation. You had the Salem witch trials and stuff like that, where people accused other people for doing things and they never did it. I just watched recently Rising of the Shield Hero, which we'll discuss further, because I just started getting into the anime series that have been controversial. No Game, No Life, Goblin Slayer, Shield Hero. And a lot of the stuff people have said are not really what the issues of the anime is. I give you Goblin Slayer on that, but not as much, because when you look at No Game No Life, not No Game Life, I'm sorry, Rise of the Shield Hero, getting back to that, you have a situation where someone is accused of rape and they didn't. And everyone believed it. And then it was spread throughout the land that he was a rapist, that he was a groomer, and he was shunned by people. So basically, he took upon himself to act, even though he helped people, he asked for money. He was like, well, give me money, because, you guys were chastising me before. And he got mad about it, which, in a way, it's wrong, the way he handled it. But in a way, nobody really defended him. There's some people that came forward and was like, tried to help him, and they did their best. There were some characters in the show. But this is the same way too. You have a situation whereas you're accused of sexual harassment and you're fired from whatever job you have without getting your day in court. I thought we were past ourselves when we had situations like this before. Whereas, if you accuse somebody, you better have a lot to back it up. I've seen situations where people were accused of things and it wasn't true. And the person that accused them was fired, because basically you're sitting there accusing someone of something they never did. Or maybe they did, but you don't have the evidence. You have to bring the evidence forward. You can't go telling people, says, well, this person is this way and that way, this way. If they've harmed you, go to the police. Go straight to the cops. Because they said, well, we're afraid to go to the police. They're not going to do anything. Then why are you going to sit there on Twitter? Why are you going to sit there on Reddit and type it in? If you could sit there and tell people on Twitter and not go to the authorities, I got to ask that question. Why? If it's a lie, you're taking away from people that are men and women that have been abused. Yes, men do get abused also. Take it from someone who's seen this experience and experienced it. People get abused in many different ways. And you have to speak up and just literally take care of business. I know it might be frightening and stuff like that, but get a friend to help you. For those of you out there, that's afraid to go to the cops, get a friend. Get someone who you trust to go with you and report it immediately. Don't wait 10, 20 years down the line when nothing can be done. Go immediately. And for those of you who have lied, shame on you. Shame on you. And you deserve whatever you get out of this. Whatever, if you get fired from your job, if you get chastised by people, if you're run off, that you deserve, because basically you're harming someone else's, job and life. And like I said, I don't know this story complete, and I can't get a complete version of the story other than what's on Reddit. And that's a shame. when I have to go to a Reddit site and I don't see this from the mainstream media. I don't. I mean, do they not see it? If they don't see it, maybe that's why they're not reporting about it. Remember, the Vic Mignogna case is everybody kept coming down and saying, but everything has been rebutted. It's been disputed that it didn't happen. And the same thing with the Johnny Depp. And all the problems that Johnny Depp, look how much, in a way he made out like a bandit with one of them. At least he got paid $10 million. But still, his career is damaged now because of his wife and what his wife, his sneaky wife has done. Because they say, always believe women. No, always believe a person when they're able to convince that that the person has done what they've done. One is not better than the other. We're all supposed to be equal, no matter what color, what sexuality, gender. It doesn't matter. And you have a good character like this, that his name's getting tarnished. And like I said, I don't know if it's true or false. But if it's false, you've damaged the character on a TV series. And this is people that don't care. This is people that don't care about it. So, one more season of The Expanse after this season. Hopefully, it won't get woke. I mean, we're seeing it in The Boys, but we hope that it doesn't. Because one thing about The Expanse, it never got woke. It never got woke, even when going from Sci-Fi Channel to Amazon. Can't say for season 5 so far. Don't see it in the trailer. And hopefully season 6, when that goes on, it doesn't do as well. How they're going to handle Cass's character, I don't know. Maybe they'll kill him off, whatever. It would be a shame. Now, I haven't read the last sections. And well, actually, I haven't picked up the novelizations. I haven't read those sections that basically what happens to his character in the series, to see how they would handle it toward him being phased out of the series. So I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to change the actor. I don't think that would be literally an insult, because the investigation is still happening. So it is still happening. So if anything, folks, like I said again, if you hear noise in the background, that's my wife bringing me another cup of coffee right now. Thank you, honey. Thank you.
No problem.
Wait, look at that. Danish also with that as well.
That's homemade.
That's homemade? Oh my God. Homemade Danish. I have such a wonderful wife. Coffee and a homemade Danish. But like I said, catch the show. It is really, really good. I mean, they even took a book, one of the book 4, and turned a book that wasn't popular into a popular season, and they did a very good job of it. So, comment below, take a moment, and go across what we've discussed today, all the Disney stuff, the passing of David Prowse, Cass Asnar being the sexual misconduct accusations. Tell me, how do you feel about all these situations? Now, what we're looking about this week, we're looking at a lot of good stories. I'll tell you, we're looking at a lot of good stories this week. We're looking at the console wars, all the issues of the console wars. I think we'll be discussing a lot of that this week. We'll be discussing a lot more anime, because I know you guys like to talk about that. We also have a new story coming along on that MeTV Saturday morning cartoon slot. We may get that much sooner than we anticipated. So we'll be discussing that. In fact, we'll be discussing that Wednesday. We'll have that story Wednesday for you. And wherever pops up last minute on there, you never know what's happened. I mean, it was, other than the death of David Prowse and a couple of minor things, on that. It was pretty much a calm Thanksgiving as far as in the fandom universe. I mean, there was a couple of other issues, which, other people has covered so far. So we'll see what happens this week. And hopefully we will go forward. And hopefully we will get some nice Christmas gifts this year. Some nice Christmas gifts and maybe a new show announcement. Something that would make us happy. Because we've had a lot of sadness in 2020. It's too much sadness. We got to get into 2021. Even though I've said 2021, maybe there may be a lot of issues in 2021. Let me just get this sip of the coffee that she just brought me. Oh, oh, that's good. So, hit that subscribe, hit that like, and that notification bell. Don't forget to hit that and share this video. Thank you for all of your subscriptions. I hope those of you who haven't subscribed today, that I earned your subscription. Because I know we're starting to push forward. We're to the point where we're about 80% of you who watch my show, who watch Q2Cast TV programming, are not subscribed yet. That's been growing. That basically we've gotten a better amount of subscribers now. We're getting over 20%. Getting over 20% on there. We're getting over that hump. We're not there yet, but we got to get there. We're trying to hit that 300 to 500 subscriber rate. It's up to you. It's very important. Very, very important that you do. Because basically, all the issues that we're going through with YouTube. But also, don't forget, we're over on BitChute. We are on Minds. We are on Parler. We're on ODYSEE. You can find our programming on ODYSEE and BitChute. And hopefully we'll get the live stream up and going. We're going to get that live stream going. Hopefully very soon. There are things coming in the works. There is some new rebranding that we're working on. We're working on a rebranding. Because you, the viewers, know what you want. And of course, we're going to work with you to get what you want on this show. Whether it's Brunch with the Madman, here at the Madman Cafe, Madman with the Show, and the other programs we're working on. So, until next time, don't forget, every Monday, even though this is Tuesday, we took a little bit of the holiday. Monday, Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, here on YouTube, a little bit later on BitChute and ODYSEE. Madman Cafe, Brunch with the Madman. Wednesday, Friday, Madman with the Show. We're going to start to add another day, hopefully in the new year. As more people coming on, as more people are seeing our show, I want to thank also those here in the U.S. I also want to thank those in the U.K., Australia, Indonesia, Brazil. Thank you for those. If I haven't mentioned your country, still thank you for all of you who have watched the show. And those of you on other platforms that you're watching them from other sites and platforms on there and you've enjoyed it, please subscribe. This helps us. This helps us very much. So until next time, thank you. The cafe is serving its last cup of coffee. The doors are closing. Until next time, au revoir. Parting is such sweet sorrow. And adieu.